This is for my interviewing class final, Mr. Robinson, fall 2014. The first question is explain the basic concepts of social work interviewing. Interviewing requires an intentional focus on the client's story, needs, and goals. After exploring the presenting problem and learning about the client's strengths, family, and supportive resources, the clinician lays out a map of attainable goals that are in line with the client's expectations. The client and clinician enter into a contract as a guide for mutual accountability. As the clinician, it's important to be attentive but guide the conversation, to be goal-focused but flexible to accommodate the unexpected, always striving to help the client towards optimal functioning by utilizing their strengths and identifying resources they aren't always aware of. As a social worker, one must operate as the client's advocate and then build the necessary skills to empower the client to be their own advocate. Explain the concepts of social work interviewing. The first and most important concept, I think, is preparation. It's important that the client feels prepared for when they come in. The social worker should take time to tune in to an upcoming client, preparing for them culturally and or personally, reviewing previously collected data so that your opening statements and responses let your client know they have been attended to. After collecting data and assessing the client's strengths and limitations, problems must be prioritized, a plan of action broken down into smaller steps, evaluate the client's progress, outline the next steps, and if there is no progress, to expose any blame or shame that is halting their progress and give them a fresh start. Affirm the positives and throw out the negatives and start new. I like the phrase from the 12-step program that silence is the enemy of recovery. Inform the client of all available resources. Probably the number 2 job of the social worker is to make sure that the client is aware of their personal resources, that they maybe didn't treat as resources before, communal resources, and any kind of federal or governmental resources that they're eligible for. Evaluate the client's ability to communicate their needs to professionals or family, whatever the case may be, for them to get work towards solutions. My job in that process is to reevaluate my role as their advocate and affirm the client's successes, encourage self-determination, as well as efforts to strengthen personal support systems. Continuous evaluation of growth and skill building to increase the client's functioning capacity. Number 3 is define the role of social workers and human service workers in modern society. I have 1. Be accepting of who and where the client is at the first encounter. Identify what was the event that brought them to reach out for help. Gain understanding of choices and circumstances that have influenced them. Emphasize existing resources and introduce all available assistance to the client. Craft a plan with the client of how to choose and behave in the most beneficial manner. Number 4. How would a social worker develop a plan to assist individuals with enhancing day-to-day social functioning? That is a wide open question. I did my practicum hours at the East End Cooperative Ministry, and which was an amazing place where they could address many different daily skill building opportunities. They could address housing issues. They assisted with job location. They have a work therapy program there for people that are maybe incapable or just unable temporarily not to hold a full-time job. They will assist with financial classes, computer skills, and all levels of housing predicaments. So it was a great opportunity for me. So So there are several levels on which an individual could need a new plan of action. Mentally, a social worker can arrange for the evaluation for diagnosis and the need for some kind of psychomedication. There is addiction, can enroll the person in appropriate facilities. They're suicidal, enroll them in the appropriate programs, or get them connected to the appropriate mental health organizations, all according to their age and the severity of their, the degree of their addiction or suicidal level, or any kind of psychological ailment, depression, or I don't know, any other psychological problems. You can direct them towards that kind of help. If they have a physically, if they don't have a home, you can direct them to federal housing or shelter programs. As a social worker, if your utilities are off, you can enroll them in assistance programs. Not enough food, you direct them towards food stamps, federal programs, local food banks. If you're in prison, in need of transitional housing or psychological help to transition into society, or to build your skills to just live independently, to get a job, and assistance with building relations so that you are employable. If you're medically incapacitated, a social worker can arrange for nursing care or new housing accommodations, or some kind of transitional housing until you are on your feet again or rehabilitated. If you're being actively abused, a social worker can direct them to arrange for immediate evacuation, new housing, and shelters, any kind of psychological treatment that they would need, and physical care, monetary care. Social worker can inform them of all those resources and collect their information in one spot so that they can that information can be distributed to the multiple organizations that they would need to be secure and safe, and especially with children. If you don't have a job, or if you don't have a high school diploma, at ECM, a social workers there can direct them to GED program, or they have computer rooms where there are people there ready to assist them with searching for a job online, applying for a job online, setting up email accounts, all the basic computer skills that you need to find employment now. And a social worker also gives encouragement and hope, mainly when someone begins to reach out for help. And the social worker is their first person that they encounter. They need to, oh, that is wonderful. It's encouraging, I think, and helpful when the social worker is capable and they get results with that person that encourages them to reach out for help again. Success encourages success. Number 5, how do social workers demonstrate effective listening and communication skills? Sitting in a posture of attending, being mindful of our own facial expressions and the client's reaction to them. Listening to what clients say, how they say it, and how they feel about what they say. Making note of their voice inflection, body language, eye contact, patterns in their feelings and behaviors, physical ailments that they complain about, cultural cues, and internal processing habits. Even when properly paying attention, it is important for the clinician to repeat back what they have heard intermittently to the client, so give them the opportunity to confirm that what you're hearing is what they're trying to say to you. Make sure, so give them the opportunity to clarify or change, elaborate on your interpretation as the clinician. It is also important to work to avoid an overt top-down relationship, I think. I think that would be a growth process, that it would be that it has to be a learned posture and behavior, that even though it's understood the clinician is on the upper level of the relationship, it cannot be overt or obvious in their demeanor, or the relationship will not grow and the client will not feel safe to share or ask for help if they feel belittled or less than. Number 6, social workers must strive to convey warmth and unconditional acceptance of the client as a person. Then maintain an air of calm assurance while expressing phrases that share in their human condition, and follow by offering resources and suggestions, as well as affirming the client's positive actions and strengths. Reflecting the client's statements or echoing is also a way to convey empathy. I didn't write the question down. So that's how social workers convey empathy in the clinical interview. So I hope that it wasn't too terrible, that I was mostly reading off the paper, but I thought there was a lot to say, and I knew I wouldn't remember it if I didn't write it down to answer them. So I learned a lot in this class, and thank you very much.